this one I'll just hand over the mic to, I think we have a structured agenda, which Dr. Kanak, you're, I guess, taking over it. So please, go on with the proceedings, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. As bankers and as emerging leaders, we understand the difference and importance of a right word and almost a right word, and that is pricey. So, I, Dr. Kanak Vadhwani, postdoctoral research fellow at State Bank Institute of Leadership, welcome you all. And we have our director, sir, with us. Sir has joined. Dear participants, we at SBIL have been fortunate to have leaders whom we can look forward to, both in time of crisis and triumphs. And having Sri Bangar Raju sir as General Manager Director SBIL is a mark of this. Sir joined State Bank of India as probationary officer in 1995 in Bangalore Circle. He served in various assignments in advances, accounts, administration, relationship banking, branch manager, and systems. During the course of his long career, Sir has worked as Chief Manager HR in local head office Bangalore. As AGM, he served as stint in Chairman Secretariat Mumbai, worked as Circle Development Officer DGM Operations and DGM B&O at Nalgonda in Hyderabad Circle. From the academic front, Sir holds postgraduate diploma in Treasury and Forex Management, certified associate of Indian Institute of Banking and Finance, qualified as certified information system auditor from Information System Audit and Control Association, qualified as a financial risk manager from Global Association of Risk Professionals US. I now request Director Sir to present the introductory address for the event. Sir, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning to all of you. I am Bangar Raju, Director SBIL. Today, the business landscape is undergoing a constant churn. This evolution of the business milieu is more accentuated with the invasion of technology in our daily lives. A leader has to grapple with myriad challenges to succeed in this digital age. From managing the stakeholders, which include shareholders, employees, and customers, while keeping pace with the ever-evolving ecosystem. For survival in this competitive world, a leader should possess superior capabilities, I believe. To navigate these volatile times, a leader should possess excellent communication skills. The leadership communication, I believe, is basically the communication that is meant for the communication to various stakeholders regarding the values, culture, the goals, and organizational, the targets, everything. So the communication plays very, very critical role to be successful for any leader. Communication is considered effective only when you get the expected outcome that matches your expectation. To deliberate on this important topic today, SBIL is pleased to organize a panel discussion in association with Karnataka Bank on the changing landscape of leadership communication. We have today two eminent and erudite personalities with us to discuss on this theme. Sri S.R. Nair, a business mentor and author. Welcome, sir. And Ms. Reena Jinwala, felicitator and author. Madam, welcome to you. Dr. Soma Srivastava, faculty SBIL, will be the moderator for this panel discussion. I extend a warm welcome to all the participants to be attentive in this panel discussion and get benefited by the insight from these two experts. Thank you once again. Welcome once again to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Proceeding further, we have eminent panel of expert connected with us online. I welcome Ms. Reena Jinwala. Madam is a facilitator, mediator, counselor, author, and an entrepreneur. Her skill sets are drawn from her training in non-violent communication, meditation, and conflict resolution, Buddhist psychology, process work, facilitation, modalities, and Vipassana are some of the more areas. She has 20 plus years of experience conducting program in finance and banking sector, as well as IT and industry field. Some of her clients are Axis Bank, Cosmos Bank, bankers attending executive development programs at IIM Bangalore, PNB MetLife Insurance Company, BMC Software, Persistent Systems, Anand Industries, Decathlon, Force Motors, and more. Her depth of engagement in education and social sector enriches her engagement as in leadership, visioning, and team building programs. Some satisfied clients: Avaz Day, Quest Alliance, connecting NGOs for suicide prevention, professional ethics for lawyers at NLU, IIM Indore, Swaraj University, and a long list. Madam is an author and creator of 3 toolkits as board game for critical thinking and transformating action. When I was reading about ma'am and her profile, I could come across to a very unique contribution by ma'am through her work. Ma'am has developed two samagri. Ma'am, correct me if I'm wrong. Those two samagris are actually toolkits which are based on Kabir Vani and Vivekanand Ji's preachings. So it is unique as we can deduce a lot from our culture and history, which can bring up leadership to another level. So we thank you for accepting our invite, ma'am, and gracing the occasion. Well, dear participants, we are privileged to have with us Mr. Sridharan Radhakrishnan Nair, popularly known as SR, entrepreneur, author, adjunct professor, business mentor, having chaired several professional non-governmental organizations in Kerala, such as Kerala Management Association, Indian Society for Training and Development, the Indus Entrepreneurs called TAI, Kochi chapter, Rotary Cochin International, and having co-founded the Better Kochi Response Group. Sir is well known in business, social, academic, and professional circles in state of Kerala. He is known public speaker who provides counsel to several government, educational, and non-governmental organizations and individuals in areas such as management, entrepreneurship, marketing, and technology. Sir is recipient of high order awards from Governor of Kerala for spearheading management movement in state in the year 2008. Kerala Sayadri Vedi recognized him with IT Man of the Year in 2013. Sir is awarded by Kerala State Productivity Council Award in 2000 and many to his credit. It's an honor to have you with us, sir. We welcome you. I request everyone to welcome our panelists with a round of applause. Thank you so much. Moving ahead towards the navigator of crusade, moderator for today's panel discussion, Dr. Shoma Srivastava. Madam is a graduate from BITS Pilani, MBA from Pune University, and a doctorate in philosophy from Symbiosis International University. Dr. Shoma has 25 plus years of experience in academia, corporate training, and pharma marketing in multinationals. A TIS certified master trainer, she has conducted executive programs and customized training across sectors and organizational levels. She is known to have leveraged in-depth understanding of key stakeholders in training to launch L&D initiatives for startups and work closely with premier institutes including IIMs. She has successfully innovated on hybrid blended approach to soft skill training in banking, healthcare, and other sectors. Madam is a recipient of awards as Best Faculty, Star Coach, and she's an active member of professional bodies like Indian Women Network CII and Higher Education Forum. She has spearheaded special projects in skilling and employability. I now request Dr. Shoma to lead and help us dive deep in the changing landscape of leadership communication. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Kanak. Thank you. At the onset, let me express my deep gratitude to the authorities at SBIL, our director, our dean, and our panel for brainstorming and collaborating with great enthusiasm. They bring their rich experience to help us tune to the changing landscape. We are aware of the dynamic nature of change, with references to terms like VUCA, new normal, future of work. And though we can dwell on the pitfalls and challenges, let us first appreciate the positives. Technology-based advances have given us access to a wider audience, much beyond our imagination, bringing the whole world to the palm of our hands with our smart devices. Our multi-generational workforce pushes us as leaders to adapt, retool, and explore new ways to engage continuously. As a leader in pursuit of success, Leadership communication, therefore, becomes the fundamental skill to drive results. Recent studies on the banking industry have highlighted strained communication at work, resulting from these changing times. Leaders need to mitigate issues through innovative and effective communication processes or responses. We are fortunate to have two very well established professionals who also have immense academic depth. Let us then dive deep into the critical facets of communication to thrive in these changing landscapes. I would request SR to share his introductory remarks. This is also a reinforcement that in today's era, ladies first is not the expected norm. Over to you, SR.
uh, Mr. Bangar Raju, Dr. Krishna Kumar, Dr. Shoma, my co-panelist Reena Jinwala, the lovely voice that I heard, but I have not seen, Master of Ceremony. I heard it as Dr. Kala, if I remember correctly. Uh, Thank you. At the outset, I must thank Dr. Krishna Kumar for giving me getting connected and giving me the opportunity. We have had connections earlier. Little did I realize that he is in Kolkata now and he is actually the dean of this institution. So thank you very much for the connect. I also want to thank Dr. Shoma, who had actually taken a lot of pain to prepare the whole panel discussion and going through the nitty-gritties and talking to us in advance, etc. So we always see that the best dance that you see is a much largely rehearsed one. So Reena has really, Dr. Shoma Srivastava has taken real pains to get in touch and elaborate and deliberate, etc. And what you see is the outcome of some painful efforts taken by her. I really appreciate your efforts, Dr. Shoma Srivastava. But I am a panelist, and normally in this part of the world, lots of people call me for being a moderator. Uh, my style is a little different because I don't go into too much of detailed deliberations beforehand, so that some level of a freshness can be brought about. But I really appreciate the efforts that you've taken. And the last part of it is that, okay, even though I am open, I slightly belong to the old school of thought. So I would rather have given this opportunity to Reena to start the deliberations. But having given the opportunity, I'm grabbing it. Okay, so sorry, Reena. Okay. Now, I must see, there are we ponder on many things. In fact, the director started saying the challenges faced by the banking, the need for HR, the need for the reforms and renaissance that is required in the HR. Dr. Sharma, in your presentation, you said about the VUCA world. I mean, we have been hearing this for quite some time now, and it continues to be so. It is not coming down. It is rather this VUCA world is gaining more impression on all walks of life, including the professions that we do. So that being the case. Traditionally, we have always looked at the banking as a very traditional and conservative sector. And predominantly, these were the communications were directive in nature. Down the line, hierarchical communications is to be given, and to a large extent, it worked well because baby boomers and Gen Y being the employees, and predominantly baby boomers and Gen Y being your customers, it worked well because in those days discipline in life was one important thing, and we lived in the time of shortages, so people were willing to be patient and people are willing to take time to get things to happen. But things are changing. We have millennials in the workforce, we have millennials among your customers, we have now Gen Z coming in, and they are going to be your both your customers as well as your employees. So we are going to see marked changes in the approach of managers, or in the approach of senior management, or in the approach of directors and the bankers, in terms of the communication within the system, and also in terms of the communication outside the system. When I say outside the system, it is largely to do with your customers. Okay. And you also have another challenge today. In fact, gone are the days when the customers will come with the check and stand on the queue in front of a teller who is quite unseen, and we only see the grill and things like that in those days. And now you can do the banking from anywhere at your convenience in the comfort of your air conditioned bedroom sitting there. I can draw money, transfer money, convert money, do anything that I want. So, but there is a problem that in this process, you, the bankers, are not seeing your client. You, the bankers, are not getting an opportunity to interact with them. You, the bankers, are not getting the opportunity to create a relationship so that you could grow the relationship. And that is generally a very, very tight situation. Okay. So predominantly a customer who is particularly a millennial customer or a Gen Z customer to you, maybe a black box, a name that you see on the screen and nothing beyond that. And how do you establish a level of trust? Trust, very critical. Customer and company, the trust that is required. How do you establish the trust is a matter that probably most of you may be pondering and most of you may be experiencing as well, as to how we are able to deal with the unseen customers outside. And COVID also had its impact many times. Even within your banking system, you have your internal customers, that is your employees, who are working from home. Often, you only see them on the screen, or often only see the names on the screen, and how we are dealt with and how we are actually going. So I'm happy that Dr. Shoma Srivastava is a hybrid blended approach she has actually mastered, and that is very well visible on this current presentation. Truly hybrid, the nature that the people's captive audience sitting from Karnataka Bank. Okay, good morning and congratulations to you for having come here to learn. You have, I believe, Reena sitting in Dharamshala of all places in India, and I sit down under, not exactly Australia, down under of India at Kochi. Okay, and the whole thing is coordinated with you people sitting at Kolkata and rest of the audience joining you from all, as Dr. Krishna Kumar had said, all part of the world. So fantastic. You can't imagine. Okay, you cannot imagine a better scenario than this as far as hybrid blended approach is concerned. Congratulations, show. Now, that is one part of it. The other part of it is, I have already talked about the multi-generational. The second part is the technology. Okay, if you really look at it, while it predominantly the leaders in the banking system that we look at, okay, they are fundamentally belong to the baby boomer gen category, not much into technology, creating customers, seeing customers, working with customers, etc. Now they are the ones. Okay, but it's a matter of great satisfaction that the banking system is the first system or the vertical in the country that has gone for massive level of automation. It is more than about 25-30 years that you have established the core banking solutions within your system so that you can effectively and very, very effectively technologically handle your clients. So that is there. At the same time, now the newer technologies like social media technologies, digital technologies, etc., coming in, and many people taking umbrage behind that. And how do you handle them? And how do you, particularly those people who have not been very connected to technology but still leading the banking system, okay, as top managers or the management, etc., how do they view the whole picture is another thing that we need to really ponder upon. Okay, and the last is how do you, I mean, we say in here, I think this word that I'm going to say probably maybe decipherable for most of you. If not, I can explain later. This could be called here in this part of the world Bhagirath Prayat. That's a prayat of a guy. That's the effort of a guy called Bhagirath. What did he do? He went up and got Ganges over to the country so that people could get, okay, indirectly people could get water. But that Bhagirath Prayat time is over. It is not a single man. It is not a single man doing things any longer. The credit of you, maybe the person who may walk up to receive a prize may be a single man, but behind him, lot of collective and collaborative work must have happened, and without which today organizations are going to be in real difficulty. So one is the generational challenges that we face, the other is the technological challenges that we face, and multi-generational people viewing things differently and making the whole system work. And we all know that the most important tool of leadership is communication. Okay, now how do you establish that so that it could be done seamlessly within and outside in the manner that is acceptable to the participants, whether it is your client, whether it is your corporate customer, or whether it is your retail customer, or whether it is your employee who belong to multiple generation, is something that I'm sure Mr. Bangaraju and others must be grappling with actually. So that is what it is. That is my initial comments. And as you keep asking questions, I may be able to take a note. Thank you very much. Back to you, Shoma.
Thank you, SR, for your insights. We really look forward to your spontaneity. Let me now request Reena to present her initial remarks on this changing landscape of leadership communication. Over to you, Reena.
Yeah, thank you, Shoma. And yeah, I really join SR in appreciating the visionary approach and diligence in bringing together this bundle of insights and questions to all of us. Because it's, to me, the question is important. Let's hold these questions, because through that we can arrive at new responses, new answers. Okay. And changing landscape brings to me, um, the words of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore in his prayer, where the mind is without fear. I want to go through that poem and also share a few lines, elaborate on a few lines, giving that, insight of the lens of nonviolent communication, which is the lens of needs awareness. So when we say where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, the need is for each one of us to have our self-respect intact and mutual understanding. Because as you said, SR, it's not a one person show. At any point it is a collective effort, and the more we put in the mutual understanding, the more fearlessness and courage we can bring forth. Yeah. And then there is, like, where knowledge is free, where the world has not broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth. Now, what is this depth of truth? Depth of truth is our experience. And when it's a collective, the experience is so complex that can we, through our leadership communication, bring forth the 360 feedback process, where which strengthens our our listening skills, and through that the multiple loops of feedback sustain our inquiry into the depth of um, you know um, multiple truths. Yeah. Further, Gurudev says, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection. Now, perfection today is an ever changing, ever moment to moment. Though it is changing, there is a kind of a basis to it. And the basis from the needs lens, the nonviolent communication lens, is integrity, honesty, and courage. Courage to face the decisions, the consequences of our decisions, even mistakes that we did not foresee, or we made due to some dynamics. Yeah. And also integrity and honesty while developing policies. Yeah. And then there is further, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert of dead habit. This again, I'm going to take up a little later. What is dead habit? And how can we break through the shackles of dead habit, as we are called upon by the multi-generational, approach to engaging? Yeah. And lastly, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action. It is thought and action. Thought not from the fear, but thought from the vision, and also action from a sense of shared responsibility, you know, into that heaven of freedom. Heaven is not somewhere above, heaven is right here, right now, in each moment, as we are sitting together. Heaven of freedom. My Father, let my country awake. Oh my God, I have such tears and excitement at the last, let my country awake. This is the description to me of what the changing landscape can look like. Thank you.
Thank you, Reena, for your thoughts and reminding us of Gurudev's words, who is so special to Kolkata. So thank you so much. Moving on, um, SR, over the last decade, the need for us to be up to date with current trends in the digital world cannot be understated. And you've mentioned it also. There are many mediums of digital communication. Financial Express recently carried an article in the banking finance segment saying or stating social media a absolute must for banks. SBI has more than 17 million followers on Facebook. Could you kindly highlight some of the challenges faced in this changing digital world? Also, in your opinion, how can leaders drive close relationship with their customers given the reality of rare visits to branches? Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Srivastava. Now we are into the technology. Actually, when you were saying 17 million followers, the marketing man started drooling. Actually, 17 million people online available for an institution as followers is big meat for anyone. Actually, so this fundamentally, when we speak in terms of assets for the banking system, which is the physical things that we actually put down in the paper. But this 17 million is now larger asset for you, and it's a golden opportunity for SBI to take a maximum utility or maximum use of this whole asset that is lying there in the online world. Okay, but at the same time, you talked about social media, and you also referred to the newspaper saying about all bank necessarily need to go into social media and worrying about that. The one element of social media is the instant level of communication that you do. Very, very critical. A conservative system like bank with the level of passwords and protection of the data that you hold, and if a query comes and if it comes through a social media and without that level of a verification, giving this information can be a big challenge. So the instant communication is a big challenge. Okay, but today's world, they are on the lookout for the instant communication. That is one element. Now the other element is, how do you, as I have already told you about, how do you interact with, or how do you build up a relationship with those unseen customers of yours who hardly visit your branches, hardly visit your offices, whose faces are totally unfamiliar to you. Technologies, of course, are available. We have. Okay. Now, at the third level, I want to also to portray, because there are some decision maker in the banking system sitting in front of me, is a neo banking system that is opening up. Please understand. I mean, SBI. If I take, I must consider SBI and many banks in the country as the including, of course, Karnataka Bank and others, as the real nerve center of the financial and monetary activity that is happening in this country. At the same time, I was just, there's a company which is registered out of Kerala called Open Technologies. Okay, the guys who had just come out of the colleges, some of them didn't even pass their examinations. This bank is now, this is called Open Technologies. It is called a neo bank, which is now valued for more than $1 billion. Valued for more than $1 billion. In fact, recently I was trying to talk to, I was talking with the Managing Director and CEO of Federal Bank, which is considered to be one of the largest private banks in the country, Mr. Shyam Srinivasan. And when I checked up with him as to what is the market cap or what is the valuation of Federal Bank, he said it could be somewhere in the tune of about $3 billion. Please look at it. A bank that is in existence for more than about 100 years, more than about 75 years, and a new bank that has come up, which is having a valuation of 1 billion, which is one third of a bank that is existing for the last 75. So what I'm trying to communicate to you is that definitely there's a threat. These new banking institutions today, of course, use your bank, either Karnataka Bank or SBI or any bank for that matter, as their banking partner. But if they move out of it, what happens to you? No, these millennials, these Gen Zs, okay, they are even including MSMEs run by this. See, I was checking up with this guy called Anish Achudan, whom I know, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Open Bank. So I was asking him, are you only having personalized account, retail account? He says, no, I have SMEs as my customers. I have MSMEs as my customers. Now, who should that be belonging to SBI or Karnataka Bank or any other bank, or they should now belong to a completely new technology company that is unseen. Of course, it's a technology company, and that is so. We need to really see there is an element of competition, my dear bankers sitting in front of me, which is from the new generation enterprises and startup that is coming in. So that is one aspect of it. The instant element of communication, in the social media, and the requirement of security and surveillance that is required to be done on within your system is another challenge that you will be facing. Now, the third element is all of us know that we have a wonderful CRM system, customer relationship management technology system, that really makes you talk to your customer, that really understand your customer. You have psychometric profile of your customer being done in your CRM system. You know who is big, who is small, who is retail, who is not. All those inputs while it is available to you. Now, can we connect this instant messaging system with the CRM of the company? That is the 17 million followers when they communicate with the bank, when they tweet, or when they use the FB, or when they use the Instagram, or when they try to send a message to you to WhatsApp. Now, will your system, the CRM system, which is also part of your core banking solution, okay, able to decipher that, take a decision based on that in an automated manner, is something that we actually need to think about, because sustainability of the future will be dependent upon our ability to manage these instant messaging system, actually seeking instant responses from you, at the same time retaining your banking, retaining your data, retaining survey, protecting your data, etc. That is another thing that is there. So now the last element, which is I would have supposed to told you in the first, is the legality of the whole thing. Now, how much? Now we have RBI, we have the central bank, we have the Ministry of Finance. Okay, we have the entire system, cabinet, laws are being passed. Now, whether our system accepts social media transactions or accepts social media as a part of the technology that bankers can rely upon. No, things are happening, I know, but at the same time, so we need to actually go into a pakka legal framework for all this to happen. Okay, so these are typically the challenges related again. You may think that this is technology challenge, but this is fundamentally communication. In a Instagram or in an FB or in a WhatsApp or in a Twitter, what he sends you is not data alone. He's communicating with you. He's expecting you to instantly revert back to him. Okay. At the same time, maintaining the passwords and maintaining the protecting the data, validating the data, and reverting. And this without a framework of a rule and law, how we will be able to establish? I think future is going to lie in here. Banking in future is going to lie in here. In fact, I do not want to take your displeasure by saying this, but let me say this. Okay. Bill Gates sometime back said that banking is needed, banks are not. This, if you really look at it, this is a very crazy statement. He says, banks are not, but okay, of course, what he meant is those big names in the banking system, which is now controlling the whole monetary and economic system of the world. He said that is a problem, whereas banking is an absolute must for all of us. No, but if you derive some insight out of it, we must really understand that what is said is the banking will now go to these open technologies, these RuPay accounts and these Razor Pay accounts and the thing. So in a way, that is also a competition to you. Your growth, your sustainability can be affected. So just look at it. A communication system which is devised as a social media, how it is impacting upon the very tenets of your sustainability is something that we have to really think. Yeah, I will discuss this later. I get it, revert back. You can revert.
Indeed, yes, sir. Incidentally, we are on a live stream on Facebook and YouTube as we speak. So this is, in fact, our hybrid panel discussion is a testimony of the phygital world that we live in. The physical in conjunction with the digital. So let's now go into a little greater depth on multi-generational communication, because that's a question I keep getting asked by bankers. Uh, to reiterate, today's workforce, we have 4 generations working together. Because of the increased life expectancy and career life cycle, generation or baby boomer generation is still active, while the millennials and Gen Y are moving up the corporate ladder. And Gen Z is entering the workforce. Each has its own characteristic on how they communicate. And each has a different comfort level with technology also. So, as leaders, how do we adapt ourselves to reach out and connect across these generations? Yes, SR.
Me? Oh, yeah. You put it to me. I was thinking that Reena is going to answer. Okay, fine. Right. See, I think actually in my
Since
home
it's a
now, I
related
have a
question.
yeah. Thank you. In my home now today, I'm sitting at my home. This is my home office behind me that you see. I have a visitor that is probably my would-be daughter-in-law, who is an American. Okay, my son has actually brought him home from Caltech, California, for a small visit here. So when I was actually talking to you over the phone, she overheard me telling something on this generational communication that we say. So I actually put that question back to saying that, okay, Julia, in your time, how do you actually see now? How do you seamlessly communicate with multi-gen people? Okay, most of the decision makers in your system are people belonging to baby boomer Gen Y category. Most of the data that you actually may be churning it out may be belonging to all categories. And in times to come, most of the people that you will be communicating will be belonging to will be the millennials or the Gen Z people. Now, how do we get this done? At one end, we need to have real usage of technologies to happen. At the other hand, we must have a framework and we must have a means to do that. Predominantly, I see that people, particularly bankers, etc. Okay, and I'm sure SBI also has one. You have YONO, and Karnataka Bank must have something else, etc. As far as instant response systems are concerned, I think it is important today that you bring the whole, or it is important that all your customers come under this mobile app of yours. Mobility is a key. As when we were talking last also, we were saying you need to take decisions as you keep walking, as you keep driving, as you keep traveling, as you keep moving. Okay, so mobility, and today without the device that you have, the mobile, and you're completely lost. In fact, there's a new phobia that has come into the list of phobias called no more phobia, no mobile phobia. If you don't have the mobile in hand, or if your mobile doesn't have charge, or if your mobile doesn't have the connect with the system, you have a phobia that is called nomophobia. So that is going to be, and some of these companies, in fact, Hewlett Packard calls it this device as the edge. It is the edge through which everything else is connected to. If this is not there, you're not connected. So fundamentally, even SBI, Karnataka Bank, or any other bank that you see, you need to protect you need to retain and grow your customer by holding them. And there is no other method than holding them as a part of your mobile app system. But please understand, you have crores of customers, both SBI or Karnataka Bank or anybody for that matter. Now, how do you get them together? There are corporates, there are MSMEs, there are debtors, there are loanees, there are students, there are common man, there are farmers, there are all sort of people. Now put them all into a system without complicating the level of communication, maybe by like people call single sign on, single sign off, all those things are there, but without them getting frightened by the system, okay, without them getting intimidated by the system, how easily they can communicate to you and how easily they can do the banking with you is that something that we have to see. So I think fundamental to the future banking will be a mobile app that your bank will have and that connects to, that work with, and that grow with the customer. Now, into which, what are all the technologies that is coming? You may have AI coming, artificial intelligence coming. That is a result of the data science that you do. Your machine learning has to do. You may have not only the YONO, you may have typical Sophia equivalents in your system to give communication back to the customers instantly. I meant Sophia because that is supposedly one of the largest of human thing that has been created so far in the AI world. You have computer vision technologies that is able to understand, as you talk to the customer, it is able to pick up the data and the pixels and send it back so that the system can decipher itself and understand and see that, okay, what is the situation, where things are, etc. And you have machine learning technologies, okay, and then you have natural language processing. You don't expect a customer who is in Bind or Bilwara to speak to you in English. So the natural language, you don't expect a customer in Kerala to speak to you in English. You may rather want to talk to the bank in Malayalam. So natural language processing, your machine learning technologies, your artificial intelligence technologies, your computer vision technologies, your CRM technologies, as well as your social media technologies, trying to put them together, and without which today you may work, but maybe 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, you may not be able to have a sustainable banking proposition is my submission. Back to you.
Thanks a lot for your insights, SR. In fact, Stanford had conducted a research and found that 83% of their students suffer from nomophobia. So
Yes.
that's that higher number. So thanks for that. Moving on, Reena. Today we see the emergence of a dynamic collaborative form of leadership in order to gain momentum and accountability from teams. What does a leader need to avoid or keep in mind to fast track growth and reduce stress at the same time?
Yeah, thank you, Shoma. And I would like to say that, um, building on what you said, SR, that gone are the days when leaders could get away with power over tactics that expected submission and adherence to direction, like do it because I say so approach. That actually brings disastrous results through attrition, irresponsibility via the blame game, and of course, demotivated workforce. A smart leader is deeply committed to the ethos of banking as a service industry. We want to, as bankers, bring equal opportunities to the ever aspiring population of a growing economy. Yeah. In India is leading the way in many ways by really showing how a huge chaotic collective can surge forward. It's unfathomable, and yet people are really seeing results. At the same time, it can be easier. The struggle that gets put in because of our hierarchical ways. Yeah, externally things have changed. There are flatter structures and all that, but hierarchy, patriarchy still lives in our midst, whether any gender. I don't mean, when I say patriarchy, men are as much um, kind of stuck in that as other genders. So, what I would really want to say is that, um, what should we keep in mind first as an inspiration, as a wisdom, as a street wisdom too? I want you all to kind of have a 5 minutes of experiential engagement into my presentation. Now, in a panel discussion, why am I presenting slides? I'm presenting slides because I would like one to support your deeper engagement into your world, your experience of whatever I'm going to discuss and bring to you as an exploration. And secondly, because nonviolent communication is a tool, it's a skill, it's a process, and it's a consciousness. I would like that you have some taste of it, some idea about it. Okay, so I bring to you, I request Manoj to please share. There are 5, 7 slides, but I'll just walk you through those. So Manoj, could you please share the screen? Thank you, Manoj. You know, the first quote, as he shares, is taken from Viktor Frankl's insight. He was a an Austrian neurologist, psychiatrist, philosopher, and also a Holocaust survivor. Could you make the screen in slide mode, if possible? So between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. Each one of us has access to this space wherever we are. And I want to reiterate that each one of us is a leader as well. So, what is this space? And in this space between stimulus is a trigger. Something happens and our thoughts, our mind picks it up and we react. Sorry, could you? Yeah, we react. That is the stimulus. And that is a habitual reaction. Okay, it's like we get into fixing, analyzing, and all those modes which we are habituated to, and it comes from fear, from flight, freeze, and that kind of fear kind of response. So the creative side, the heart side, is not available to us. Yeah, and then what happens, that what we say or do next leads to either war or peace. I know it's a very dramatic thing to say war or peace, but actually it's also conflict or collaboration, hmm, or opening or shutting down. Yeah. So in that response lies our growth and freedom. What do we mean by that? We will get to in the next response. But let's go to what should we avoid. So we should keep in mind this, that there is a space between stimulus and response, and each one of us has a choice. And in that choice is the power to bring that change that we are looking for. Next one, please, Manoj. Um, what we should avoid are these 4 Ds of life alienating behavior. Because we are talking about communication, it's important, it's about behavior. Yeah. So alienating behavior, which separates us, and life enriching behavior are the two kind of ends of the stick. So the 4 Ds of disconnection are diagnose. What we diagnose, oftentimes we judge, label, criticize, because we have been taught to do this critical analysis. There is a space for that, in research, in various policy making and all that, but not in communication. When we say the problem with you, when we use you, we are diagnosing, judging, labeling, criticizing someone. And that really disconnects. Another thing that we do is we deny responsibility for our actions, our thoughts, our feelings. So if I feel kind of stressed, then I can say, you made me feel stressed. The team is not working and that's why I'm stressed. Yeah, the media is making me stressed. So we do that. And then, so we deny responsibility for our own action that comes out of that thinking. And then there's demand with our own team, with our, even sometimes, it trickles down, and I get, as a customer, calls, where they say, oh, there is this opportunity, and if you do not give a decision now, then I don't know, so we, your investments are not going to grow. And we put such fear into our customers as well. And I'm wondering, I said, what's happening? But I realize that this pressure that gets trickled onto the customer comes from the top, comes from the system, which is demanding you have to, you must, you are supposed to fulfill your sales targets every month. I'm quite often giving empathy to my relationship manager that, hey, boss, I know you are under pressure. Let's take a breath. And now let me ask you some questions so that I can take a reasonably balanced decision for my own well-being and support you in your targets. That's such a different space from a head space to a heart space. I hope that makes sense. And then the fourth one is deserve. When things don't work, we say you deserve something when things work, or you don't deserve. Again, the school classroom, the carrot and stick approach continues. It's so sad. We add another layer of diagnosis or demand when we say you deserve this and you don't deserve this. These four patterns of communication can occur while interacting with others as well as in our internal self. You just notice sometimes when you're stressed or when you're relieved, what is the communication that's going on inside you? Next, let's look at these three examples. Again, just as a way to understand this, what is the process of going from the head to the heart and what we can avoid. So, supposing there are these 4Ds, now let's look at this statement. You have no business calling yourself a leader. This could be my inner voice as a head of a bank, okay, as the top person in a branch. Yeah, I can tell myself that you have no business calling yourself a leader if you avoid taking responsibility for the rise in bad loans authorized through your branch. Now, though it's me talking to myself. Huh? And what's happening? There's so much of a deserve mentality in this. And then, it becomes a different game of defense and offense. Yeah. And then what happens? I may feel scared, stressed, irritated, feel unsafe. Yeah. And then I make a choice or a reaction, which is to blame everyone. Yeah. Or deny responsibility that I didn't, authorize these loans. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. So another thing is like another situation could be you really shouldn't waste time. I know today all of us are committed to learning, re-educating, unlearning through these fascinating experiences. Who thought that I would go to buy a new notebook and a pen because I still love to write and go to a new classroom at when my hair is more gray than black, in number. But education, learning is lifelong, and it's evident now. So when I want to, supposing I ask my manager to say, sir, I want to take some leave or I need some support via budgets or financial support or leave for a course, and I hear that you really shouldn't waste time on courses. I mean, how much performance output have you achieved in the last quarter? Can you imagine that? It might be a reality for some of us. And then I say, oh God, I feel so upset and frustrated. I feel sad. I feel demotivated. And then I say, okay, what can I do? What do I need? So, Manoj, could you just go to the next slide, please? Yeah, these are some of the feelings. If you go through them, I feel puzzled sometimes. I feel impatient, when my colleague is getting to go somewhere and I'm not. So, what happens? We get divided. The workforce that through communication we are trying to bring together gets completely disorganized. Yeah. So this is what I'm trying to bring the lens of feelings and the heart language, communication through the heart. Whether we agree or not, it affects us. There is a lot going on in our hearts. That's why, I mean, I'm sorry, and I'm glad the person who had a medical emergency got the support that they needed, because that's really needed immediately for recovery and complete recovery. But imagine how much goes on in our hearts. Yeah. Could you go up again, Manoj? The previous slide, please. The third situation is, you better justify the reduction in deposits when you submit the report, or else. Again, there is demand, there is denial of responsibility. Is this one person who is going to make the report, or that one team that is going to bring up this report, responsible completely for the reduction in deposits? There's so many different solutions coming up for us, for the customers. Yeah. So why do we put this kind of a communication, or this behavior where we pressurize people to deal with the consequences which are not even of their making? Yeah. So I hope this gives you an idea of what not to do. Could you go to the next slide, please, Manoj? And I want to one more. Yeah, so I want us to look at all these three ways of communication as tragic expressions of power over, of fear, flight, freeze, response. Take a space, take a pause, breathe mindfully, and say, okay, this is a reality. What can I do? Nonviolent communication will help you, and we'll go into that. But here, I just want to bring the lens of needs awareness. Now, in the first statement, where it's an internal communication about my self doubt of my leadership, my ability, what do I need? When I say when I say I have no business calling myself a leader if I avoid taking responsibility for the rise in the challenges around loans, recovery of loans in my branch. I may also hear somebody's voice, though they don't say it. I hear that voice very clearly. Could be my mentor, could be there is a higher up above. Yeah. So my need in at this stage is for understanding. My need is for support. My need is to be heard, that this is what's going on inside me right now. But the higher the leader you are, the more lonely a place it is. You will not feel comfortable in sharing the vulnerability inside, excepting, as I've heard in the IIM Bangalore, when people come for the executive development program on day 2 or 3 or 4, there is that softening, you know, that, yeah, there are tears also. Yeah. I've seen grown men and crying, that it's been so hard. So I need, when I say I need to be heard, I need respect, I need safety. I can do something about it. That's my inner environment. That's the changing landscape inside me. What my needs I'm aware of, and I can do what I can in the moment, and then respond till the outer environment supports me for all these needs. In the second one, it could be my need for respect and acceptance, that yes, the last quarter has been difficult, and I myself am maybe embarrassed of the performance output. I did try hard, or I had a tough quarter because of various reasons in my life, and I want respect in spite of that. Do not take away my dignity by when I come to you for support. Yeah. But do we have the courage to say this? Do we have feedback loops that support us to speak from that truth, where we can say, sir, or ma'am, or whatever, this is what's going on for me. This quarter is not going to be great. I'm sorry. I regret that. Yeah. So things like that. And then I can go for, maybe I need some new learning, and I want to go and learn and grow. So could you support me? Imagine that the way you would connect with your team member that way would be life enriching, would be path breaking. Yeah. And the third one, very briefly, is that when somebody says you better justify, what do you think are their needs? Let's look at the next slide. Manoj, please. And just notice when, yeah, when you as a person who is submitting a report hears that you better justify the reduction in deposits when you submit the report, or else, what could be your needs? Look at this list, and you might have different. So let's have a, like, it's important as leaders communicating to the team around performance, around targets, around planning for the next quarter. What are the needs that are floating? Do we need stability? Do we need consideration? Some people may need, they may need trust, that, this is the reality. What we project, God knows where that comes from. It's unreal. This is the reality. If you trust me, then you, or you meaning we, the group, can then review our performance and plan accordingly. We are then addressing the whole elephant rather than parts of it, isn't it? So needs lens definitely helps us to, even if the problems, the challenges continue for a little while longer, the sense of belonging, the sense of stability, the sense of safety and collaboration enhances. And the last slide, please. How would we feel in that kind of an environment? Huh? Look at all these feelings. We would feel moved, we would feel hopeful, we would feel optimistic and confident. We want our workforce to feel confident, yeah, and relieved as well, that, now I can function from a creative side of my brain. Yeah. Thank you. I'll stop here for now.
Those are powerful thoughts, Reena. Um, as responsible leaders, we are able, of course, to consciously choose our responses given the constraints and the directives under which we operate. So, how would you suggest leaders communicate, Reena, where optimal performance, which is the need of the hour, and collaborative spirit coexist?
Yeah. Thank you, Shoma. I really feel I said a few things, but I want to reiterate that nonviolent communication helps a leader forge life-serving connections, to lead from the heart with a sharp, evolved mind that gives clarity, that chooses trust, that supports empowering processes. Each one's experience is valued, and that creates solutions emerging in an emerging environment. Yeah, that's what the VUCA and all those new terms are all about. A leader listens with openness and compassion, and is willing to practice radical responsibility. I want to say here, we're so scared to listen because we think, or we assume, that listening means agreeing. I don't think so. Listening is to be open minded, open hearted, compassionate in your heart, curious in your heart, with an intention to connect. And of course, then there can be a dialogue around the next steps. And sometimes there's no time for a dialogue, but one can say that I've heard you and I value your inputs. And at the moment, I see how the policy or the process or the decision is maybe difficult for you to work with. You see, in that itself, the person feels heard and says, doesn't matter, let us work at this stage together. And eventually we arrive at a better solution. So that is what radical responsibility is about. Radical responsibility is our ability to respond. Response ability. It's our ability to respond. And in such an environment, there would be dialogues, interactions across levels of hierarchy, drawing authentic feedback when problems surface without blaming and judging. All thought and action emerges as a strategy because the needs are now more clear. A leader asks, what can I do to connect with my team members and build mutual respect rather than demand respect as a sign of submission and superficial kind of ego feeding respect. Further, a leader communicates with a sense of shared responsibility, genuine care and concern for the outcome of decisions, processes, and policies. Imagine sensing each customer from a lens of needs and internal customers and, of course, the world at large. What could be the need that motivates a customer to reach out to a banker? Do they need support, or are they looking for safety for their hard earned money, or do they wish to honor their commitment to their families through growth, education, comfort, stability? Nonviolent communication focuses on fulfilling needs through authentic connections and personal accountability to the we. I know our marketing, all the beautiful advertisements and messages on our homepage give all this out, but that is created by media team. How do we bring the essence of that into our communication is the key. Does that help, Shoma?
Thanks, Veena.
And
Food.
also, I would love to hear in the comments something from our esteemed participants and bankers. Yes.
Sure. In fact, they are a lot of food for thought. So I'm sure they are churning and ruminating as you speak. In the interest of time, I will of course collect their feedback, and we could have a post follow-up dialogue also. Right now, I would just go move ahead and ask SR a question. So, SR, drawing from your extensive experience as an entrepreneur, what is your message to our esteemed audience as intrapreneurs? And how can they be more innovative and take ownership through their leadership communication?
All right. Okay. Uh, I, I think some clarity is needed on the word called intrapreneur, because even today when you search the dictionaries, this word probably may not be there as something called intrapreneur. But this is mostly spoken in the corporate circles on intrapreneur. There is see, the challenge is that mostly organizations work within the systems and the processes that they have, and they, most of the people are now specialists. Okay, you have specialization has come into every walks of every walks of work, and in the vertical and horizontal specializations that you have in your bank. So what happens is there is a challenge of people versus process challenge. Now, there is what one, and there are people who have their own capabilities, talents, and specific intelligence. In fact, Howard Gardner says there are 9 types of intelligence. It's not only the IQ alone, which we give a lot of value to. Okay, so we have people who have their intelligence, we people who have their talent, and people who have their capabilities. At another end, we want to run a system within a company or an organization or a bank within the systems and processes that we are building. In fact, when I worked in a MNC company long back, and when I went into doing something, the boss told me, SR, don't try to act smart, stay within the system. There are processes that you can work within. Okay. So the thing is, he was actually cutting down my creativity. I was trying to suggest something, I was trying to move into something, and he didn't want that to happen. He said that stay within your job, your specialization, it is defined, job roles are defined, your connect is defined, your system is defined, stay within that. You are now talking to me in a bankers meeting where Karnataka Bank and SBI people are around, and many of the alumni maybe they're online, asking about entrepreneurship, which is all about people centricity, Now, defining an entrepreneur is actually a manager or an individual manager within the system having the traits and characteristics of an entrepreneur. I think you follow that. That is a manager having the traits and the characteristics of an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are those people who work hard, who never take no for an answer. They will do everything possible. They will be pushy. They will want to get things done. They're creative. They simplify things. All those things are there. Whereas as a manager, your job is defined, your role is defined, everything is there. So we may have this struggle between the people and the process. Okay, the process means your systems, your people, your talent and your capabilities, a struggle. But lately, organizations and companies and corporates have gone on to the innovative element that is required, because without innovation you cannot, you perish. No innovation, that means that that's a death knell for you. So innovation has become a critical element. It is also said that innovation actually is a product of most of the smaller companies that is adopted by bigger companies later. But you will also realize that today larger companies, the companies of the size of 450,000 employees or 500,000 employees, etc., they are also trying to have innovative spirit. And you also understand the spirit that the system that is brought in GE, okay, by Neutron Jack. He says, no, everybody considers their part of the employment, their part of the function as a company by itself. Okay, and that is the beginning. You can call it as an entrepreneur who is able to apply the entrepreneurial trait, and the system encourage him to do that. Now, the system encouraging him to do that is where the challenge is. Okay, because you have to have a system, you have to follow a system. On the top of it, you have to actually innovate. And that innovation, that is a people centricity element, needs the level of freedom to operate, needs the level of work to operate. Okay, so there we have to really do something. Now, I think maybe, as I have told you about, there is multiple intelligences that is dwelling with you. The organization, when most of the people who are sitting in front of me, including Mr. Your General of Kolkata, you're all come through the ranks of the system. So at the time of recruitment of probationary officers, etc., it would be worth the while to understand what is the dominant intelligence that this person come with. What is the dominant talents that this person come with, and a horses for courses action at the beginning of a career of a person, and then reviewed later, can definitely help build and prosper entrepreneurship within the organization. Otherwise, within a very rigid system that you have, entrepreneurship will not flourish. I take my experience of having worked in HCL, Hindustan Computers Limited, where everybody was a shipnadar. A salesman was a shipnadar was shipnadar. The company was, because he said, okay, no, I encourage you to go and do it. Or I encourage you to think differently. I encourage you to go and sell the ways that you would like to sell it in. Yes, there's a lot of disparity of activity, but the company prospered into become one of the largest companies in the country. And today, HCL Technologies and Shipnadar, where does he stand? Why? Because he allowed freedom to the people. He gave he gave course for entrepreneurship. But within a system such as banks, SBI, Karnataka Bank, Indian Bank, etc., the rigid system may not help. But if you really understand the various intelligences and talents that your people have, and if you have a horses for courses action, probably you can start your entrepreneurial odyssey within the organization. I also want to add that, Reena, there was a lot of learning from whatever that you have said and presented. Okay, I really liked it, and I'll definitely keep using this. Do not take away my dignity. I really liked it, actually. In fact, this is something, that I very well said. I mean, as you bankers sitting in front of me, as also you will be talking to your customers, you as bosses will be talking to your subordinates. One thing to remember: do not take away the dignity of the person whom you're talking to, whether he is a customer or whether he is your internal customer. Back to you, Shambhu.
Definitely. Makes a lot of sense. And in the interest of time, I will now throw the floor open for any questions from the audience. So, Mr. Syed Hassan here is physically present and he had a question. Syed, would you like to ask the questions?
Can unmute and
Just mic needs to be pressed to have a green. Can someone? Yeah, Vijay, thank you so much for helping out. You can sit and ask. There's absolutely no problem. Go ahead, Syed.
and meanwhile others can be ready.
Think of all the questions you have.
I guess.
Oh, good afternoon, sir. I'm Syed Najmul, Chief Manager from Karnataka Bank. Sir, I have a question. Basically, actually, there are three questions, but I'll first come to the important question. Since the future of banking is machine language, business rule engine, chatbots, and faceless banking, should not the modern banker spend his time learning new computer languages like Python, Java, SQL, rather than developing his skill and expertise? Sir, my question is creativity a dying art since machines will be coming out with end solutions, that is results?
Uh, Sir, one thing is for certain, we will actually, we are in this world, we need a lot of Reenas who can tell us about feelings and the thinking coming from the heart. At the same time, the question that you had asked is, won't it be particular that people actually now coming, knowing about Python language and Hadoop programming and things like that. Okay. Now, fundamentally, my my one line reply to you, sir, is that see the power of the discrimination of human being. Okay, the frontal lobe that distinguishes us from the animals, where the power of discrimination is there, that the system doesn't have. And any element of machine learning that the system seek or the computer seek or the robot seek, okay, that creativity within that power of discrimination, that is something, which is, when it is an undefinable proportion of an ability within the human being. And so long as you have the power of discrimination within you, no machine in the world will take over from you. All that you look at is automating. Now, why are you automating? It is not you're automating because we want to do away with people. We are automating because we want to deliver fast, immediate, accurate, and correct results to our customer. It is not that, okay, people are being obviated because there is automation coming, and nobody is automating for the purpose of automating. They're automating for the purpose of delivering, okay, quality, delivering timely, delivering product of quality, etc. to the customer. That is where the automation comes in. So the automation actually has to be under the control of the human being who have the power of discrimination within himself. He's a winner always. Now the question is, sir, whether next generation people should learn BCom or machine language. Okay, that's a need of the hour. He can learn BCom with machine language. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. I'll
Madam, can I
then
ask one
move
more?
on to an online question from the audience. So, we have a question from Ms. Shruti Yadav, which is a question to Reena ma'am. How does one, as part of the hierarchy, find a balance between the expectations from the top and performance of the team being led?
Yeah, thank you, Shruti. I think that is a reality that is normal, natural. The distance between expectations and performance, because we are process driven. I mean, service industry, and it's really complex and dynamic at the same time. So as I've written in chat, let me also say that when you say hierarchy, because first of all, remove the fear. The fear comes from hierarchy in my heart, in my mind. Yeah, can I remove that? Yeah, can I own my power? Yeah, through the role that I'm playing, whichever that role is, and then use my creative means to address the difference. As I said earlier also, sometimes these expectations are placed from a hopeful scenario based on some analysis, which may be changing constantly, right? Or may not even be true. So when you look at needs, what is the need in this, like it could be the need for reliability, for creativity in addressing certain repetitive problems where we lose customers. Yeah. So when the needs are the same from both ends, we feel connected. We no longer feel the powerlessness. And that's where dialogue starts. That's where interactions can lead to new solutions. So one thing I would love to, we will be sharing the presentation and the handout. So maybe you can look at avoiding the Ds, the 4 Ds in your communication, and you'll be surprised by some new ways to move forward with balance. Hope that helps, Shruti.
Yes, in fact, for those who have joined us online, of course, the physical classroom will be getting a handout in the physical form. But in case you are also interested, you can send in a request and we will send you the soft copy. So, yes, Mr. Sayed wanted to ask one more question. So, Mr. Hassan, quickly before the others also ask.
Madam, my second question is to Ms. Reena Jinwala. Madam, my question here is, since a leader should be an active listener, how much important is the timber pitch in his style of speaking or communicating with fellow members? How much important it is? Like?
How much importance is what?
How much
I
important is the
The
timber
pitch, the pitch.
or pitch
Timber
in
and
his style of speaking?
In
Ah, yeah, it depends because pitch is about excitement, about energy. So I think, earlier we used to say that, see, my intention was to connect, to guide you, to support you. But if the impact is demotivation or disconnect through the 4Ds, then one needs to take cognizance of that. In my generation, I used to get away with my raising my kids, or I was in colleges and in institutions where my students were younger, much younger. I said, this is my intention, now take it or leave it. So the pitch, I am guessing, is also important, where the intention to connect is the key. Yeah, I want to connect with curiosity. And I can ask that I said a lot or I was stressed when I spoke. How are you hearing this? What is the impact? And take some shared responsibility of the impact. I'm not saying pura topla apne sir pe le lo. Nahi. But share that, okay, I was stressed and I spoke with a certain tone, and I guess it was unpleasant for you. I'm sorry, or I want to know how it was. Yeah.
Thank you, Reena. In fact,
Thank you, madam.
I just wanted to add that hearing is different from listening. That's another very important aspect that we kind of forget. And I read Uber has moved to a continuous listening model instead of their quarterly and monthly employee surveys. And this has been a great game changer during pandemic times. So I had a full-fledged question on listening, which I have kind of kept because I would like to focus on audience questions. So there's one more question from the online audience, which I'll quickly, Mr. Chari has said that on communication front, one peculiar thing I keep noticing, especially even the modern generations, hardly respond to messages sent across until reminded. This cannot continue in today's need for instant responses. What can be done to address this issue? SR, sorry, would you like to answer that? Or
Yeah,
anyone?
see, as a father, this is my worry too. I send messages to my children. One is in Hong Kong, the other is in California. We really do not know, the time differences between these places. So we, as parents, we are worried. So we send communication, people don't respond, and then we send another communication. At that time, even that fails. You take up the phone and call, and they cut us off. This also do happen. Now, so I can understand, but Mr. Chari had asked a very pertinent question, but he also has to understand that the millennials and the Gen Zs, their responsive system does not work the way that our responsive system works, actually. That is one. See, we need to understand the times that we live in. If you really don't understand the times that we live in, it's very difficult to live in that time. Okay, so it's a continuous level. I always think that, okay, we have to start thinking that, okay, the children. I was talking to one of those person today, recently. So how will you do it? So I said, I will find answers when I reach there. I don't need to have an answer now. I don't need to mug up anything now. When I reach there, I will look at my computer, I look at my mobile, I look at things, and I can find an answer. So responsibility of the youngers in instantly responding, whereas they have systems and devices with them, which helps them to instantly respond. But madam, that is why we have Google. That is why we have all the system. Using this, you can find out where they are, how they are doing, and what their moods are. So don't you worry. I mean, system will evolve. I hope that the response from the guy will not come, but the technology around you will keep you happy by understanding that he is safe and he will communicate back later.
Thank you
Back to
so much.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Reena, you want to add something?
Um, yeah, I think it's really a nature of the new landscape, which is dynamic. You know, we are functioning like 24/7, ever changing, minute to minute, different realities. And I loved what you shared from your own life experience, SR. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even if we are in the same time zone, we are all in a different world.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There is a question. Yes, please go
Please,
ahead.
please, unmute.
So good afternoon, sir. This is Sanjeev from Chennai, Chief Manager. This is to SR, sir. You rightly said that Federal Bank of existence of 76 to 77 years, and we Karnataka Bank survived comfortably with visionary leadership and entering into second century. We are celebrating next year as a centenary year.
Great.
But this, as you said, this millennials are more active in social media and all these gadgets and all.
Yeah.
But a simple false propaganda that disrupt the basics of banking, and it makes the big damage. Maybe it's a silly question, but how to overcome?
They see, how to overcome what? How to overcome the disruption that they have put in? Is that what you wanted to know, sir?
It's a false propaganda.
False propaganda by the startups and those people, the entrepreneurial system telling that, this instant level of a thing, which is a false propaganda, versus very reliable banking system that exists, particularly with organizations such as yours who are centuries old. That is what you want to know, right, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I think the challenge here is that uh, people of today are really enabled. They are emboldened, and technology had played a major role in that. Okay, and the ability to think, the ability to ideate between people also had increased tremendously. So technology and the idea is combining together, and it is becoming a business proposition. Okay, and under this business proposition, they are looking at the disruptions that are possible. So you yourself actually had changed the queue for the people to come and encash into an ATM. You have changed. Now he says, beyond that ATM, I have a technology that I can even disrupt that ATM. Now you may say the ATM is the truth. Now he says that I am coming with a new way of doing it, which will disrupt that. Now I am not very sure, sir. Please forgive me by saying that it is a false propaganda. Now, because if that is so, these institutions will not get into the level of funding that they have received, and the level of number of customers that they have added, into millions of customers that they have added, is proof of the fact that there is an acceptance of the disruption, that the traditional or the banking principles and truth that you follow, a disruption has happened on that, and people are welcoming that. Okay, so therefore you see, I think it says, if you can't lick them, join them. You also have to embolden yourself with those devices and systems to go into that. I've been having a similar thing. Bankers cannot be venture capitalists, because it is venture capitalism is dead against the principle of banking, because if money is lost, the man will lose the job. In a venture capital, he may lose the money, all the money that he had put into a company. Now, how can a bank be a venture capital fund? But today banks are also becoming venture capital funds actually. So there is a way of accepting and joining and working together and using technology to see that, okay, we'll be able to handle, or we will be able to manage the disruptions that is happening around us. Okay, I hope I have answered, or I must have gone all over the place.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from people present here? Okay,
Please.
please go ahead.
Sir, it is for you, sir. Sir. It's a fun question. The next next generation. Usually, what if you watch WhatsApp, if you watch Twitter and all, lot of emojis, lot of language mixes will be there. How do you think the future systems can cope with that?
Oh,
For
beautiful
example,
question. In fact, this is something that Madam Shoma Srivastav actually had incorporated as a part of the discussion, but due to the positive time, she didn't ask actually. We are soon jumping into the Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse, sir. It is virtual beings. Now, the virtual being, which already is there, you know that there are agents, your own reflection working as an agent. Now, with all these technologies, what he's trying to do is that a virtual you sit at your place, a virtual you with the intelligence capability similar to that of you is generated and he's able to talk. And that is what he's talking about metaverse. So that is exactly what he talks about metaverse. That is the you who is dealing with the situation virtually, whereas the you are sitting in your place. Okay, and maybe there could be a link later. So this metaverse principle is what you're talking about. I think it's a great thing to watch about. Every technology has its own pitfalls, you will realize. Okay, but every technology also takes us to different dimensions and different levels. So we need to watch it out. But I'm sure with companies like Reliance, etc., joining hands with Mark Zuckerberg and the Meta team, lot of metaverse technologies banking probably would be using to deal with situations and customers. They will not be far away.
thank you.
Thank you. In fact, I thought the best thing now we can do is, can the panel sum it up with one key word of advice in 10 seconds? Who would like to go first?
Key word of advice: take a deep breath and collaborate and connect. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would a little longer a sentence. Forgive me for that. Okay. Be mindful and multitasking at the same time. Seek unity and diversity in the same place. Be sustainably consistent in the ever-changing flux that is around you. That is what is going to be the new you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. A big thank you. So gratitude to both our panel and audience. Being a learning organization, at SBIL, the emphasis is always on development in every activity that we plan. And I'm sure each one of us in person, as well as those who have joined us online, have gathered a lot of insights from this discussion and deliberation. And I hope you have enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed bringing it to you. Wow, what was that? We also have an animal contribution. I think the dog likes my whatever I said. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Kanak, and your support and for all your support. And over to you.
Taking panel discussion towards its completion, I thank our panelists for their remarks and insights and providing us improved lens to see changes and ways to deal with them. My sincere thanks to our director, sir, for being a constant motivation, and my honest gratitude to Dean, sir. It is his vision, which has helped us to bring in such a need of the time topic. My profound thanks to participants from Karnataka Bank and participants connected with us through online platform. I also want to highlight the truthful efforts from our IT and admin team and our support staff to make this program smooth. Thank you.
Thank you. Wishing you all the best till we meet again.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you,
All the best to
sir.
everyone. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, ma'am.
I guess Manoj can now switch off the panel. You must.
And Reena, you're yes, I think Reena is also
Yeah.
signed on.
And any
Yeah,
other
thank you,
panelists?
Manoj. Thank you, Shoma. Thank you, sir. It's been a very encouraging encouraging experience, and I'm glad we chose the hybrid session. So many others could join, and I could participate, and not have a huge carbon footprint.
Absolutely.
Save our resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And the participants can leave, in their chat boxes how you felt about the program, as well as if you have any feedbacks to give us, any new themes to pursue, please do write into us in the chat box or into our mails also. Thank you.
We are open to all suggestions.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I think, yeah, you can switch it off.